I am a massive Harrison Ford fan. I've loved almost all of his movies. The man is a legend of modern cinema. He is, as evidenced by his voluminous work, a consummate professional, and the reason so many millions of fans have flocked to his films for decades, as I'm sure they'll do for Indy 5 when it opens in a couple of months' time. This is not a Harrison Ford movie. But the reason I bring the great man up is simply to make a point. As good as Harrison Ford is, I could not bring myself to watch his 2020 adaptation of Jack London's The Call of the Wild, beyond the first 5 minutes anyway. The first few moments were going well, the inspiring beauty of the Alaskan wilderness unfolded before my eyes, and my excitement levels began to increase. But then Buck entered the frame, and my hopes were shattered, and I was taken completely out of the movie. Buck, Ford's canine co-star in the movie, was an unforgivably horrible CGI creation. But I don't want to get ahead of myself here. There's so much more to take issue with in this movie than just an unconvincing CGI bear. Now, I really, truly wanted to like this movie. I really did. This was the last film from one of my favourite actors, the late, great Ray Liotta. But then I remembered that movies are subjective experiences, as is all art, just the same as looking at a painting or listening to a piece of music, and must be judged as such. Firstly, despite what the advertisements say, this is not a true story. This is a fabrication, a Hollywoodization, an almost completely made-up story, built around a couple of facts. Yes, the drug smuggler existed, and yes, there was a black bear, albeit a small one, not the large, supernaturally quick behemoth depicted in the movie. And he did ingest some cocaine, but only a small amount. The critter in this movie wolfs it down by the pound. And most notably, no character in this movie actually existed other than the drug smuggler at the beginning of the movie. So the story begins with a pilot, an airborne drug smuggler, high as a kite, literally and metaphorically, hastily throwing packets of drugs out of his plane. When he attempts to exit the plane after the drugs, he knocks himself out, and, needless to say, with his parachute failing to open, it doesn't end well for him. This really happened. So, detectives are quickly on the scene, and they deduce that he was a known drug felon. In reality, from what I've read, he was ex-CIA, running drugs up from Colombia. Next, there's two kids who decide to skip school and head out into the nearby national park to spray paint a waterfall. No idea why you would want to do that, but that's apparently the reason given for their truancy. After this, we follow the mother, Kerry Russell, the ranger, Margot Martindale, and her friend Peter, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, as they themselves head into the park to find the kids. There's also a subplot where two drug couriers, Alden Ehrenreich and O'Shea Jackson Jr., are sent by their boss Sid, Ray Liotta, to retrieve the drugs. Detective Bob, Isaiah Whitlock Jr., and his dog are also in pursuit. The titular bear, who had been off its head on coke since the beginning of the movie, then goes on a gory rampage in his quest to find his next hit. I will stop here and not give anything else away in case you are inclined to go and see this. I think it's best to just give a general outline of the plot and not detail every single moment in the movie. This was such a frustrating movie to watch. Firstly, there's the script, predictable from beginning to end. For a work of fiction, this should have been so much better than it is. I found myself forecasting with incredible ease. Every move. It really wasn't hard. There was absolutely no ambiguity or nuance, at least that I could spot. And this movie doesn't know what it wants to be. Is it a drama? A comedy? A thriller? A horror? The filmmakers should have picked a genre and stuck to it, because it fails across all those genres that it appears to want to be. It's described as being a dark comedy, but in truth, what comedy there is seems forced and tacked on, and it really takes you out of the movie. The bit with Detective Bob and the dog was almost cringeworthy, and it certainly wasn't original. For my 2 cents, given the gore and creative license taken, this movie would have worked much better as a straight-up man versus beast horror. But it is what it is. Now, even though I wasn't expecting Shakespeare here, the acting for the most part is weak throughout, despite an ensemble of more than capable actors. The characters are two-dimensional, and you really don't care for any of them. There's no substance to their performances, though there are exceptions, and given the below-par script and flat, one-paced direction, the actors aren't entirely to blame. Kerry Russell tries hard with what little she has to work with, and the same can be said for Ray Liotta, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, and perhaps even O'Shea Jackson Jr. We especially don't see enough of Liotta and Tyler Ferguson. These are all decent actors here, but again, the script just does not give them anything to work with. The cinematography is, well, virtually non-existent, when it should have been a feature, given the picturesque part of the world in which the story takes place. You never really get to see much of the wilderness, and it's a real shame. Then there's also the credibility factor. For example, it's made clear early on that one of the kids has been chased by the bear over a stretch of wilderness. As the story progresses, we see where the child ended up, which in itself is ridiculous. Now, I know it's just a movie, but it strains credibility that we're supposed to believe that the child has outrun this rampaging coke machine across such a huge distance, and at the same time has also managed conveniently to leave markers all the way for her would-be rescuers to find. Then there's also a scene early on when two characters have scarpered up different trees to escape the off-its-head predator. The bear goes after one of them and climbs the tree with the dexterity of a chimpanzee. Then, scenting an illicit substance on the other character in the tree opposite, it dives about 40 feet to the ground, and without even breaking stride, it pounces leopard-like onto the other tree, and with a mercurial swiftness that would make a cheetah blush. This, as much as anything, demonstrates the glaringly overt CGI. The great Bart the Bear, star of 1997's The Edge, must be rolling in his grave right now. And as for this being the final Ray Liotta movie, all I can say is we'll always have infinitely superior examples like Narc, Copland, Something Wild, and Goodfellas to remember the great actor by. One last thing. Here is a photo of the actual Cocaine Bear as he appears today in Lexington, Kentucky, and where he has been on display since 2015. Cocaine unbearable for me. 2 stars. And so, until next time, this is Zombie from Cosmic Iguana saying thanks so much for watching and see you at the movies.